you thought composers were dead European dudes in wigs, you were wrong, because right here in this room, we have Columbus's own Tony Zilincik, so he's going to come up and tell us about it.
Thank you all very much. So as Lindsey said, this is a fixed media piece in that the accompaniment doesn't change from performance to performance. But what we did do is, and I'll give you a little background. This last Friday, Lindsey and I drove 3.5 hours to Fairmont State University to play my 7-minute piece, and then I drove back to Columbus, and she went on to Pittsburgh. And so we kind of flew in, played, flew out. But it was at that festival 2 years ago when I met Lindsey, who lives 25 minutes from me. But we met in West Virginia for the first time. But we knew each other on Facebook, so it was real from the start, right? So I heard her play, and I said, I need to write for you. And so I had been, I'll be as quick as possible. I wrote a ton of electronic music when I was at Bowling Green back in 1990. And then I stopped, and I went almost completely acoustic for a long time. And then about 5-6 years ago, I decided to jump back in because I realized that all the stuff that I could do at Bowling Green with a room full of equipment, I could actually do on my Macintosh computer with all the stuff that came on board. And so I could sit in my basement and do all the things that it took me an entire studio full of stuff, which is what the guys in 1991 were saying about 1950. And so everything just keeps changing. So within the next 20 years, we should be able to just use our phone and then just create a whole, an entire symphony without like, we could just think it and it'll pop into the phone.
Will it work the same way with me practicing, or won't I have to practice anymore?
Right, exactly. I've been banking on that for 20 years, and it's not happened yet. So I came up with the idea that and my pieces anymore, as I go through life as a composer, you just kind of start out your life with writing stuff. That's what I tell all my composition students. Write, don't stop writing, keep writing, write more. But as you go on through life, you stop doing that and you start writing for certain people. And you start hearing certain things. So when I heard Lindsey play, I think it was Mark Zander's piece. So I was trying to remember what it was. So it was a piece by Mark, who we both know. And I said, I want to write for you. It was great. And so then I want to write something that's for this performer. I want to write something for Lindsey. I want to write something for whatever orchestra says, write for me, whatever band. And so I said, well, the best way to make it personal is to make it about Lindsey. So I asked Lindsey 9 questions. And she recorded her answers on her phone, sitting in the airport, waiting for a plane to fly to her next gig. And she sent me those recordings, and then I went through and curated all the recordings, listened to all of them, and listening to the way she talked, the way she said certain things, the way she answered the questions, the rhythm of her voice, came up with just a couple of phrases and just built the pieces around those phrases. So all the sounds that you're hearing are generated either as variations and manipulations of Lindsey's voice, variations and manipulations of things that she's already played from your first album. I took one of the pieces from her first album and did some manipulating of just a few notes of it to create this. So all of this piece is based on things that Lindsey has said or done already. So, and then because I was on sabbatical this semester that I wrote this, part of my sabbatical project was to travel around the country to all the places I lived and record sounds from those areas. And a lot of them came from my parents' farm up in Michigan. And so basically I created several instruments from those sounds, took all the things that Lindsey said and played and combined them into a piece, so it's incredibly personal. And then the other thing that we did was I asked her the first time when we met for lunch that day, I said, have you ever improvised? And she kind of got this look on her face. And I said, good, we're going to improvise. And so she was totally game, because I knew you would be. And so this piece it has some very, very broad guideposts on what she's supposed to play, but pretty much from performance to performance, she gets to pick and choose what she wants to do. So it gives her a chance to react to the things that she has said and done in the recording and create a new piece every time. So that was the goal, and we've done it together twice, and she's played it a bunch, so I'm totally thrilled to be here and come to a concert and not have to play.
Yay.
So thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
fun.
Will do.
Enjoy.
And thank you, Tony, for writing